that's an exciting part about what I do and what we do on our desk is we'll get better and better applicants. But that means that the bar's raised for everybody. So don't, kind of say, yeah, once I join a desk, then I'll be able to do all this good work. No, start doing it now.
Welcome back, everyone, to Be the Trader. Today, I have a very interesting episode, a special episode for a lot of you all who've asked me tons of questions regarding firms like SMB Capital itself. And we just did an episode not too long ago with Bella, which you gotta go check that one out. So make sure to go check that one out as well. But today, I have Jeff, the head of recruiting here at SMB Capital in New York City. Jeff, welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we get into the whole recruiting side of SMB and what it takes to be in a prop firm, just give us a little background about yourself and how you got involved at SMB Capital.
Yeah, so I was a retail trader. I just kind of was dabbling around. I had found some edge, small. At the time, I thought it was huge, but looking back, it was relatively small. I was looking around, and these guys at SMB Capital kept putting out content, and it was relevant to me, and it made sense to me, and they were doing it a couple times a week, and so I just reached out to, kind of at the time, somebody who was one of the partners and said, hey, listen, I love your content. Can I share some playbooks with you? I'm trying to get better as a trader. Yes. And I'd kind of worked with a couple other mentors before, but found something really interesting with working with them. And then was invited to kind of take a course and learn and get better and just started doing the work. And I know it sounds cliche, but literally everything they said, do this, that's what I would do. And or they would say, our top traders do this on a regular basis, so I would do that on a regular basis. About a year later, I had an opportunity to join the firm, so I joined. That was 4 or 5 years ago. Recently, we kind of realized that we really want to amp up our recruiting, and I was able to step into this role and kind of work with Bella on a regular basis about how do we make our firm better, not just today, but thinking 10 years from now. Who are the traders that we're going to be able to talk to now that will help us grow in the future? Markets are going to evolve. I'll evolve as a trader. We want to make sure we're bringing in the right people and the people that are going to help us get to the next step of what SMB might be.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something off camera. We were talking about just how traders are coming out of the woodworks from all over. And because the market has just opened up to everyone at every age, it's all AMC helped with that, everything, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned how sometimes you'll find a crypto trader, right? And we talked about this off camera, but to fill you guys all in, he was just you were saying, go ahead and explain y'all found someone, go ahead.
I mean, it's not really us finding them as much as people who have interest in trading or just interested in trading. And the type of people that we tend to recruit to or we wind up having on our desk or in for interviews or in to meet with teams are people who are doing just really interesting work and really good high quality work. They're reviewing their trades on a daily basis. They are understanding the risk reward. They're building playbooks and they're finding their edge in markets. The folks that are doing that and they're sharing that with us, they don't have to be from the equity space anymore. Some people are doing options. I started in options. That's kind of what I learned first. We're seeing people who do crypto. I was on the phone yesterday with somebody who's doing yield harvesting in the crypto space, but he's got a really interesting playbook. So it's that's somebody who we want to learn from and talk with a little bit more and see if they might have what it takes to kind of succeed as an intraday equities trader ultimately, but in whatever space investing is going to go in the future.
So is it, when you mentioned playbook a couple times, are you guys, is there a criteria you're hoping to see when someone reaches out to you and says, hey, look, I want to look at a prop firm, but I don't know what to do or how to approach? Is there certain this young trader stands out to me and here's why? Is there a certain list that you think about?
Yeah, so most of the people who join the firm come through our internship program, which Bella had talked about. It's junior internship. You're in college and at a university in the U.S. You come in for a junior internship. You're with us through the summer. You get to trade on a demo account during the junior internship. You kind of are expected to build your playbook during that time because you're exposed to everything. And then you come back as a senior intern. The top senior interns we then bring onto the desk. That's where most of the traders come from. Anybody outside of that, which is a lot of people, we have an avenue where they can take our training and then they can kind of impress us with their work. And really, it's not about where you're from or kind of who you know when you start, but it's about what you're doing every day. What are your habits that you're doing every single day to get better? The playbooks are a great example of that because it sucks to do a playbook. It's a lot of work.
It is.
But if you're doing it every single day, you're learning so much. And it's really easy to say, oh, I had a great day, I'm not going to do a playbook. Or I had a horrible day, I don't feel like doing a playbook. Or today I didn't really see anything, so I don't want to do a playbook. Those aren't things that get you to where you need to be in order to be someone who's going to join our desk. It's I'm doing my playbook today. I'm reviewing my trades. I'm talking with at least one other mentor or somebody on my executive trading committee about my trades today. I'm reaching out to 3 traders that I find interesting today, and I'm going to learn from them. You're doing those things, whatever the habits are that make you the best.
Yeah.
You have to be doing those already. And if you're not doing those already, we don't expect that you'll do them when you join the firm. You're not going to change into this new person all of a sudden. You have to be doing them already. And the resources are out there even more now than ever. I mean, we were talking about how much younger people are getting because they have access to markets and they have access to whether it's capital or demo accounts or whatever, but they're involved in markets. So from my position, things are just going to get more competitive for people because there are more people doing better work. And that's an exciting part about what I do and what we do on our desk is we'll get better and better applicants. But that means that the bar's raised for everybody. So don't, kind of say, yeah, once I join a desk, then I'll be able to do all this good work. No, start doing it now because the resources are there.
Hey, we wouldn't be able to do these face-to-face interviews if it wasn't for our sponsor, Cobra Trading. So if you could just give them a few seconds of your time, we'd really appreciate it. Cobra Trading is the go-to broker for day traders and short sellers. And I'm not the only one saying this. In fact, Benzinga awarded Cobra Trading as the go-to broker for short selling. They have a heavy focus on direct market access order routing, so you have the fastest execution. They have some of the best locate prices and availability. They also have amazing customer service. I've experienced many different brokers, and it's why I use them every single day and why I'm proud to have them as our sponsor. Sign up now by clicking the Be the Trader referral link below and earn 1 free month of software with Cobra and 25% off all commissions. Now let's get back to the show. So you've interviewed a lot of new traders, someone who wants to come in. Have you anything that you've learned over the years of like you've interviewed all these traders, right? And then you see them on the end scope, right? When they join the firm. Let's say they've already joined this group of traders. Has there something that stood out to you that's like, man, like the ones who kind of like really rose, to the top, they stood out on the interview and here's how? Like, is there anything that kind of is similar amongst those type of traders?
They're all doing the work by the time we got on the phone. For the initial conversation. And I'll be honest, there's one trader who, when we first got on the phone, he was doing, I thought, kind of okay work, but he was doing it, and he was doing it consistently. It wasn't great, but it was like he was doing it consistently, and you could see that he had that passion and that drive to get better. He just needed a little bit of help. And so, but the thing he did really well was he was working to understand what his edge was. He wasn't just like putting together a bunch of random things. It wasn't great and it wasn't clean. And if he showed you his playbook, you'd kind of like, yeah, whatever, dude. But like the reality was he was finding his edge and he was working himself towards that. So anybody that's doing the work where they're identifying their edge, they're identifying how they can get better at their trades, those are the people that stand out. And they stand out from the time we get on the phone with them, and then when they come in the junior internship, they have an opportunity to kind of show us what they can do.
Yes.
So they continue to do the work. They continue to show, hey, listen, I recognize that this is in my wheelhouse. This is my pitch. We talk about if you get your pitch, swing the bat hard. And that's sort of the thing. They're finding their pitch all the time, and then they're developing the confidence to swing the bat hard. And then they're staying away from things that are outside their playbook. Maybe they're dabbling in it, but with like 5% of their daily stop. They're not putting 50% of their daily stop in something they don't do well, and then only 25% of their daily stop in their pitch, So it's all these little things that they just do that ultimately we look back 2, 3, 4 years later and it's like, oh yeah, that person's really excelling. And it's like, you can see it though from the moment you talk to them because they're just approaching this as a profession.
Are they necessarily profitable at that point?
No.
No? Okay.
No. I would say
you know
probably
the
about
traders,
half. I think a lot of people ask that and
Right,
they assume that, oh, you have to have big numbers and stuff. I think about half of them probably are.
Yeah.
But if they're doing the right work and we can see kind of the trajectory, if they remind us of somebody on the desk that is successful, not necessarily in a personality perspective, but in the work that they're doing and the habits that they have, the process.
Yes.
Yep. Then that's something where it's like, okay, that is somebody we want to kind of move forward with.
So you're looking for the intangibles, really, or like the process-oriented mindset, and right, and someone who's actually trying to grow. You don't necessarily have to be profitable at the time, but it's nice, right? But like you don't necessarily have to be, as long as you show that you're doing the work, right, and you're tracking and you're doing everything that we talk about constantly. Like every trader talks about, like you got to make sure you track your trades, you got to make sure you know what your mistakes are, what you're good at, and so forth. Not the trader. Give me an example of who's not going to make it here.
Somebody who comes in and tells me how much money they've made on one trade. That's usually we don't see them stay for very long. That's the one that I think we get the most is people who send us an email and is like, hey, listen, I doubled my account in this one trade. And it's like, okay, what's your playbook? And they can't tell us why it worked. They just kind of got in there. And, it's tough because we've all had that happen. And it's the greatest feeling when you're a young trader and you're like, man, I'm the best. No market's ever going to contain me. Like, all that stuff. But the reality is if you're focused on the process, that's going to kind of get you forward. If you're focused on the outcome, it's really tough to kind of grow.
And what about is there certain things that you're thinking about when you're talking to a new trader in terms of like how they view things or how their mindset is besides the work itself, besides like the trading, the process itself? When you're having those conversations, because that probably gets them in the door, right? That probably gets them to have that conversation. What are you looking for in terms of like how they think? Is there something you're looking for? I have no idea. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it evolves. It's really interesting to see. I think that a lot of people that wind up finding success at our firm and finding success in markets in general have this belief in themselves that they will.
Yes.
And then they back that up with their habits and actions every day. It's not always clear and it's not always easy for them to do that. I get to work with a lot of the new developing traders we have on our desk that came in as interns and they either sat on my team or somebody else's team, and we talk with them on a weekly basis. They've met with Dr. Steenbarger now for 2 years every week and
which is
worked
huge.
on their process. Those are all resources that the firm provides,
right.
and that's really helpful. But the reality is these traders would be doing it on their own, maybe with other people, but they would still be doing it if they weren't at our firm. At least that's my belief. Because I think they just see themselves as successful traders. And it may take a year or 2 years or 10 years for them to get there.
Yep.
But the elite level performers, they see themselves getting there. And they believe that they are going to get there. It's not like, man, I got so lucky on that trade, I hope that luck comes back, or I've been on a streak because I'm so good, or anything like that, or this downtick in the markets and the change in the tape that we've seen really kind of impacts my ability to trade. No, they're just going to evolve because that's what elite level performers do. They don't complain about the situations, they just figure out how to get better, and then they start working on getting towards that next step.
So speaking of evolution and evolving as traders, as SMB, I have no clue, but I'm very curious. Like, are you guys always, or I don't know if you are you already remote based or any such thing as remote? Because I'm sure traders are going to watch this and they're like, well, I live in Florida, and I really want to come to New York, but, or maybe I can't come to New York, but I'm working really hard. I'm checking these boxes, right? Do they have any hope for the future or something like that here?
I think COVID taught us a lot. All of our traders had to be remote for a period of time. And that allowed us to hop on Discord chats as teams. It allowed us to put on Zoom calls. It allowed us to kind of use GChat as a resource or get in chat rooms or whatever. We're structured so that anybody in the world could join our desk. And we have traders in a lot of different places now who are completely remote. Wow. And so we're very open to it. As long as you're the right type of person, as long as you're the person who's going to show up and do the work and contribute to the team and make the team better, and have the expectation that you'll be as good as you can be, but you also want everyone around you to be as good as they can be, and you want to be a part of that too.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of what I experienced on our desk is I showed up in a room just like this, a conference room, and there were probably 11 other traders at the time. All of us were relatively new. Some of us had not traded before, and others kind of had done what I did, where you were trading on your own a little bit. I never felt like it was me against them. It was always just, I want to be as good as I possibly can be as a trader.
Yes.
I want to do everything I can to stand out and to be as, on the leaderboard. But I also want everyone around me to be as good as they can possibly be too. So if we're working on a model together, I'm going to work with somebody. It's not going to be like me working on it, but I'm not going to share anything with you or anything like that. Or I hope I get better fills. I guess I do hope I get better fills than other people, but like I want them to get the right fills too. Yeah. If I'm developing technology, as long as it's not like something that I need to be very careful with as far as edge going away because of liquidity concerns, I'll share that with people.
Yep.
And that's just a culture that we have on our desk is we want everybody that walks through the door, everybody that's part of our community to be as good as they possibly can be. And we'll provide as many resources to be able to do that. But I also want to be as good as I can be too. And so I'm going to compete to be as good as I can be.
So speaking of all these traders who come through the door, they have the check marks, they want to be as good as they want to be, right? They want to be that top A performer and also be a good team player, it seems like. But there have been, I'm sure there's, just like any business, right? Recruiting, you bring people in and then some people don't make it,
yep.
right? The people who don't make it, because they do hit those first marks, right? Because they get in. Why? Why do you think that is? Because you're the one, you're experiencing this every day. You're talking, you're like, I saw that in you.
Yeah.
Does it just die away from them? Like, what is it?
It's really weird, right? I'm sure you've seen it too when you talk with people and they're like, this is my passion. I'm really driven to be a trader. And you kind of get knocked around a little bit by markets. And then all of a sudden they're not doing the work. And then all of a sudden they're not reviewing their trades. And then all of a sudden they're not contributing to team calls. They stop calling things out on the desk. It's like, it's this weird progression. On our desk, and Bella talks about this more than anyone I've met, but about habits. And it's like the habits either take you in one direction or take you in the other direction. And so I don't think it's anything other than they choose which habits they're going to continue to develop. And the traders who stop wanting to develop the right habits just kind of stop evolving. And they very quickly get lapped by the traders that have the right habits and are passionate about developing those habits the right way.
So if there's anything that I'm very curious right now, just in case, is there something that I'm not thinking about in terms of like what you get? Is there certain things that you get asked that's maybe like irrelevant that traders who are trying to impress you or are trying to get their foot in the door? It's probably not the right way to go about it. Besides what you said earlier, which is like, hey, I just had a double account trade today.
Yeah, I just used that. That's probably a bad example, but like because there is a trader who was on our desk, and that was his first email to me. Was like, I had my best day ever. Can we, talk or whatever? And it was like, okay. But so that's not the best example. But it is true that if you just come in and you focus on the outcome and you tell us how great your outcomes are, that's just not something we've seen as somebody who tends to make it here, at least. For the new developing side, if you're an experienced trader, we expect you to have really good outcomes. If you're coming in, we expect you to have a 2+ year track record. You can't be an experienced trader here without a 2+ year track record of consistently profitable trading. But for the new developing traders, if you come in and start with that, I've made 5 trades, one of them was a grand slam home run. Yeah. That's where we find that. I think what I'm most surprised by is how actually less of like things that people ask and I just think they're out of left field, and more how people don't realize what the resources are at their disposal right now. I talk with a lot of people who are like, oh, you guys have better technology, and like our technology is amazing, but Thinkorswim's like 80% of what we have, and I build things on ThinkScript before I build it in our platform, and a lot of the kind of more quantitative traders on our desk do the same, or they use eSignal or they use something else. So like people don't realize the resources that are out there now. You want to learn from Dr. Steenbarger. Okay, there's a ton of YouTube books out there, YouTube videos with him out there. Yeah, like he has his
3-minute coach or something.
Yeah, like exactly. Yeah. He has Trader Feed for his blog.
His books.
He has books. Like you want to learn from Bella. Bella puts stuff out there 3 days a week. Like you want to learn from other great trading communities. There's content everywhere, and so if you're just doing that, you know, you don't have to sit there and say, oh, if I got into this place, then I would be something.
Right.
The resources are there. So when people are like, oh, if you just gave me a shot, and it's like, you already have a shot. Like, the great thing about this market and trading right now is you can trade from Robinhood, and you can have access to pricing, and you can have historical backtest data for anything. You can find an edge without having to be at a prop firm.
Yep.
And I think the fact that some people don't believe that makes it really tough for us as recruiters or in what we do.
You know, before we wrap this up, I just want to give you the time. If you want to let people know, because I know people are going to ask me a ton of questions.
Yeah.
And I'd rather them ask you questions. Just to be honest. So is there a way or a place that they can contact you guys at if they have questions like, hey, Alex didn't ask this, but I want to know. Where can they reach out to you guys?
Yeah, so it's a really simple email. It's recruiting@smbcap.com. You can put it in the footnotes or whatever. Like, you're more than welcome to email out, and our team will try and get back to you and answer the questions. We try and Kurt is our tech guru, and he tries to put as much stuff out there as possible. So, you know, it might be that we've covered something, and we'll just send you a link to a YouTube thing that we've covered, or somebody else has covered something, and we'll send you a link to that too. But if you want to get in touch with us, recruiting@smbcap.com is the best place.
Hey, make sure you check that out, and also check out their channel, SMB Capital. It's on YouTube. I personally used to watch it all the time, especially when I first started trading, because there's a lot of quality content out there and they really go in depth. So if, as he mentioned, if he's sending you a video to watch, you better watch it because it's quality content. But again, Jeff, look, thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for being just awesome and letting me come in the office as well. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.